Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is week 2 of Ethereum Women in Ethereum Protocol Cohort 3. And today, this is if you already joined us, this is our first week when we start working on issues. So you didn't miss anything. And today we have our special guests from Lodestar, Phil Ngo and Matthew Keil. They are our mentors for this cohort. We invited them to help you start. Hey guys, welcome. And our agenda for today, Phil will give us a talk about open source contributions, about Lodestar and contributors guide, and Matthew will give us a demo on how to solve an issue. And at the end of the session, we will look at our repo again, and I will explain you your home task. All right, let's get started. Before we start, guys, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience, how did you get into the protocol and Lodestar? Who wants to be first?
Yeah, I can start. I'll give a very brief one because it's also in my presentation as well.
So
But yeah,
okay.
yeah, but it's very quickly. I'm the project manager over at Lodestar. We work at ChainSafe. I've been with the client team since July 2021, and I'll explain a little bit more later about how I got to where I am today.
Okay, great, thanks. Matthew?
And my name is Matthew Keil. Thank you very much for having me as well. I am a protocol engineer on the Lodestar team. I'm actually the newest protocol engineer on the Lodestar team, and we're a very stable team. And I've been there just coming on 2 years now. So it's a great place if you guys want to come out. I'd love to just shill us. Come on over. We'd love to give you guys a hand and get your feet wet in protocol.
Yeah, I can definitely say your team is so friendly. All right. So, okay, Phil, the stage is yours. I think we can start.
All right, let's see if I can share my screen here.
Yep,
Just
I
look
can see it.
good. Okay, I'm gonna try full screen now. Everything looks okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we can go on.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks everyone for having me here. I'm going to also just expand a little bit as well, just so you get a bit of an understanding of what it's like to, work on a team full of protocol engineers as well, because this might be a path that you might pursue one day. There's many different things that you can do in Ethereum. And this one will, specifically address being a protocol implementer in an Ethereum client like ours. So why am I here? First of all, female software engineers are super hard to find. And part of the reason why, like, I like to show myself at places like Women in Ethereum Protocol is because we need to, be better at being more inclusive and trying to get more female engineers to contribute. So in general, in tech, it's already very low. Like from this dev ecosystem report from JetBrains, I think it even states here, like, females are comprised of like 6% of software engineers. And it's even worse when you look at something like Protocol Guild. So Protocol Guild is, a part, it's a guild that pretty much all the core devs are part of that contribute to layer one Ethereum. And you can even look at the membership list. You can probably count like with two hands how many females we have on that list. So just to, that's the reason why I'm here to also help see if something like this interests you. So, protocol is built for everyone. It deserves more female contributions. So how I got here, well, first of all, I've been with ChainSafe since July 2021. I'm currently the technical project manager at Lodestar. I did some work previously on Web3.js. Before that, I was part of a failed startup. We did stuff on the blockchain for security tokens and more in the regulated financial instrument space, which obviously we were way too early for. And then before that, I was in the Canadian military. I did a lot of stuff with them, with the Air Force and the Army. I found that blockchain was pretty easy for me to grasp because of my background doing like IT stuff with the military. So cryptography and stuff like that was, just came a little bit more naturally to me. And then how I got involved, well, I started looking at blockchain in 2013. It was really just out of curiosity. And I find a lot of people that end up finding themselves in this space had something or some reason that kind of made them go, huh, I wonder what this stuff is. For me, it was the Mt. Gox hack back in 2013. I was sent Bitcoin as like a demo to kind of get an understanding of what Bitcoin was trying to do back then. And luckily for me, I grew up in Toronto, and there was a lot of meetups back in the day for Bitcoin. And then, you kind of just need to put a little bit of initiative, and with that curiosity, just start getting yourself involved. And that's how you generally meet people and how you learn more about things like blockchain. A lot of the times, like you're going to need to do a little bit of initiative to really get yourself out there, and no one's going to like push you into blockchain. In fact, I'd be skeptical of those types of people where they're just trying to like sell you on blockchain. Like you should go in there and learn it yourself, and have like a bit of an interest at least in stuff like this before you get involved with it. And yeah, I've been following Bitcoin, then eventually Ethereum in 2015. So pretty much went down the rabbit hole from that point on. So why does this all matter is that everybody has their own story of getting into blockchain. Nobody can really say they've been studying blockchain, especially like pre-2009 when Bitcoin was launched. So nobody really ever like necessarily went to like a blockchain development school to be a protocol engineer. It's not something like many kids just grew up and were like, yeah, I want to be a protocol engineer when I grow up, like you kind of just fall into this. And a lot of the people, even on the Lodestar team, which is shown here, are people that came from various backgrounds. I came from like a military background. I think Matthew came from like a construction background. You know, uh, Not everybody necessarily even studied software engineering. This is something that, people are able to grasp because of just like how easy it is to like learn stuff online now. Another backstory to this is it's really hard to find people that are willing to contribute in protocol, and sometimes like they show up in like the most random places. So like Cayman and Tuyen and Gajinder all kind of stumbled into our repository and just started contributing. Like they didn't look at like a job application or anything or a job post and just started doing things. They kind of just looked at the code, everything's open, they just jumped right in. And that's like the case for a lot of things in Ethereum. Ethereum is permissionless. So anybody can just look at stuff, contribute great work, and get involved. Like no one's going to say no, unless like, of course, like ideas are bad and stuff like this, but that's a whole other thing. But like, if you have, the will to contribute good stuff, you can easily get yourself involved. I think like Matthew and Nico, we both met at we met them at DevCon. That's how we actually got to know them. They came to our booth in Bogota, and from there started contributing to our repository. And then the relationship kept building from there that we eventually hired them. NC is a engineer that was part of the third cohort of the Ethereum Protocol Fellowship. So it is a great way to also start learning about the protocol, and then being able to like kind of front run yourself in terms of what you need to know to be successful on a client team. So yeah, Ethereum is permissionless. Everybody can contribute. We're all open source. And it's not just Lodestar, it's pretty much like all the different client teams and such too. So what makes like a good protocol engineer? There's like a mix of like hard skills and soft skills. Obviously, like software engineering, we are the TypeScript implementation of Ethereum consensus. So Ethereum protocol is basically there's two layers. There's an execution layer and there's a consensus layer. And we are a consensus client team that basically aims to, we implement all the specifications that make Ethereum come to consensus on the canonical chain, basically. Or yeah. So software engineering is important. We are TypeScript based, but a lot of the times when I'm interviewing people, it's been difficult to find really good protocol engineers because a lot of people just come from like a full stack background, doing like web development and stuff. But I will say that like at least with Lodestar, it's more you also need to have a little bit more of a focus on like back end type skills, more lower level type problems. So that's why generally, like, even though we target like a very common language, there's like a small portion of people that actually work on the type of problems that we do at Lodestar. So obviously problem solving is a good hard skill to have. We're kind of at the bleeding edge of this technology. So a lot of the times you won't necessarily have answers to your questions. Sometimes we have to be the ones to create the answers to those questions. And that's like a responsibility, I guess, of people on the bleeding edge of protocol engineering. So eagerness to learn multiple disciplines, as you can see, like if you have some time in blockchain here, there's people, who are really good at like not just computer science, but they're great at like game theory. They're great at economics. They're great at mathematics. So, being a good protocol engineer is like a mix of these different hard skills. You just need to be willing to learn. That's, the key thing here. Soft skills, if you've ever sat and listened to like an all core devs call, like communication advocacy is part of the job. It's a bit of a soft skill to be able to like, convince people why like an EIP makes sense, or explaining your ideas to how to make like Ethereum better through one of your ideas. So that's important. Self-starter. No one's necessarily going to tell you what you need to do. A lot of people just come up with great ideas and start executing on them. That's how Ethereum generally kind of works. And having a collaborative attitude. So it doesn't matter if you're contributing to Lodestar or to Lighthouse or to Prism or anything like that. We're a collaborative group of developers that's trying to build the same thing. We're trying to build like a world computer. So at the end of the day, we don't see these other teams as like competitors. We're a very collaborative type of environment trying to push the forefront of Ethereum together. So that's kind of the way to look at things. Very quickly, if you do want to get involved in protocol engineering and into the core dev community, ETH research is a good place for you to look at some of the research that people are debating about, people are proposing, stuff like this. It's a good source of information to really understand like different bleeding edge ideas people are proposing to Ethereum. Ethereum Magicians is a good discussion platform for like proposing Ethereum or discussing Ethereum proposals, doing like protocol coordination, working discussions. And then, of course, the EIP process, which the Ethereum cat herders help to push forward as well, is also a great source of information. And, there's a lot of contributions that can be made there as well. Generally, the way that we communicate is through a bunch of different mediums for different reasons. Discord is one of the most common ones. This is where we do a lot of like coordinating between the community. So if you're not part of the Ethereum R&D Discord server, there's a great wealth of information there. Telegram is sometimes used for more like direct messaging between like people in the community, client teams and such, generally used for like coordination for like events when we're like at DevCon, stuff like this, or if you need like to have private conversations with other parts of the community. And then GitHub is our main contribution platform for repositories. So everything that we pretty much develop is you're probably going to find on GitHub. So best to get started there. The Ethereum PM repo is the main coordination hub for the project management aspect. So if you go in there, look at the issues, you'll see that there's a bunch of different meetings. there's always like breakout groups. There's always coordination stuff for like all core devs and other things in there that are free and open for anybody to join. And that's like a great way for you to start getting yourself involved. So us as a consensus client team, we maintain our beacon node and our validator clients, and then of course help to shepherd the specifications that we use for Ethereum consensus. So the main repository that contains these specifications is really the Ethereum/consensus specs repo. This is where you'll find all the information you need if you're building a client of your own. You'll be able to understand like the specifications of how Ethereum works on the consensus side through this repository. And a lot of the changes are proposed through there, through pull requests and such. So make sure you check that out. There's a lot of like up-to-date stuff there for you. And of course, like as we do hard forks, we do new releases of these specifications. So another place for contribution as well. Beacon APIs is basically the specification for the beacon nodes. We need a common standard to be able to like talk to each other. So there's a lot of information there. It's very useful for if you're tinkering around and wanting to like play around with beacon APIs. These are the standards that we all follow here, and we contribute to that as well. There's this other cool thing recently that Justin Traglia from the EF recently developed for consensus developers, and basically like you can get an idea as to what changes were made throughout the hard forks on different things that we standardize on. So if you ever get a chance to take a look at that, it just makes it so much easier to see like how certain containers have evolved through different hard forks, and just makes it easier for us to know what changes came with like the next hard fork and the hard fork after that. It's pretty cool because it kind of tells its own story about Ethereum's development. So to give you like a grand idea as to like protocol development when it comes to Ethereum protocol, you basically have like consensus client teams. Those would be like Geth, Nethermind, and such, who work on the execution side of the node. And then we work on the consensus layer side. And this is where like our main area of responsibility is at Lodestar. And that's where we maintain like the beacon node and the validator. So this is where most of your contributions will lie if you're contributing to Lodestar. However, it's great to understand as much of this as you can, because that will only make you a stronger protocol engineer. Now, this might look slightly intimidating. This is in our documentation, but basically what Lodestar has is we have a mono repository. And this mono repository contains a bunch of different packages that all kind of intertwine and interact with each other to make the beacon node work. So obviously, like the thing you'll notice here most commonly is the beacon node itself. But in order for the beacon node to work, it requires all these different packages and stuff, and it's all kind of bundled together in that main mono repository. And then, of course, we have external dependencies that we manage that allow a beacon node to function. So these are things like JSLib-UTP, which is the main networking protocol that we use to communicate with each other. So there's stuff like this that are also, open for contributions as well. They're obviously like not like they're more specialized. And the thing is, a lot of the times when people start contributing, they look at this and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed. This is like, there's so much to learn. And one thing that everybody just needs to like realize is like, yes, that is true, but we all came from somewhere and we all had to start somewhere. So generally what happens is, you start learning about one thing, whether it's through like a good first issue or something, and then that generally touches multiple parts of the beacon node. And then as you slowly like fix things and start learning about how everything interacts with each other, that context just builds, right? So it will take some time, obviously, but the thing is like, not everybody kind of learns how a beacon node works in the same way. You might be more interested in like networking as an example, and you might want to try to tackle a problem that touches the libp2p stack a little bit. And then from there, you start learning about a bunch of different things, like whether that's the handshake protocols, you might learn, about gossip sub, and then maybe Yamaks, and then expand from there when it starts touching other things as to like how we manage peers on our beacon node. So, it might be intimidating at first, but just, understand that it's a learning process. You learn things piece by piece, and you get better at it. So that's pretty much what this is trying to tell you. This will likely be the case with other client teams as well. And just know like you're not alone. Like if you are trying to tackle an issue at Lodestar, we're on Discord. You can find us there, and we find that generally the most successful first-time contributors are people who are just in communication with us, because we can give you more of the context that you need to solve the problem. So yeah, these are just some ideas on like how you can get started, right? Like a lot of the people who join our team have like actually run nodes before they actually join our team. So Nico was a Ethereum staker before he joined the Lodestar team. He ran his own node, so he really understood like how a beacon node works. So we always suggest, like run a node and and tinker with it, because that's how you start learning about how to like the stuff that we work on, basically. Join discussions. As I mentioned like earlier before, you're only going to like get as much out of it as you put in. And that really depends on like your own initiative and how involved you're trying to get yourself. So join ACD. Our stand-ups at Lodestar public. We do it on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. UTC, or sorry, 3 p.m. UTC. And they're fully open for anybody to join. Start learning. Lodestar as a team is always learning. We're no longer just like a TypeScript type client. A lot of our protocol engineers understand Rust. Some of them understand C++, and eventually some of them are going to start knowing Zig, because we do have like a bit of a roadmap where we are trying to target more lower level programming languages. So, if that kind of stuff interests you, that will be very, very helpful in terms of joining our team and contributing to our issues. So please contribute to fix issues. We have like 200 and something open issues, and just generally not enough people to help bring that down. So yeah, those are just some ideas on how to get started. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy. The kind of people that, thrive very well here are looking for a challenge. As I mentioned before, we are likely going to be the people that will solve for problems. You may not necessarily get answers for your questions, because there is no answer yet. We're here to help create the answers to those questions. And that's what's like really cool. It's really rewarding to work on a team with protocol engineers. Like it almost feels like being part of developing like the HTML of the internet. So here's all my contact details. If you are interested in getting involved, please reach out to us. Discord is probably the most accessible way, because it's so open. And yeah, I'll hand it off to Katya or Matthew to basically continue with the conversation.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you so much. The stats at the beginning was really sad, but this is why we're here, just to change it. And yeah, the other part was really inspiring. And you're right, mostly the developers, the contributors start from here, where we are like from good first issues. Yeah, thank you very much. Could you please share your slides with us?
Yeah, definitely. I'll post a link here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Now we can move forward to Matthew. Are you ready?
I am. Are you ready for me?
Oh, of course. Always. Of course.
Hello.
All right, go on. Hello, hello.
How's everybody doing? That was an awesome intro, Phil. That was great. And Just to reiterate, I'll tell you a little bit where I came from, and it really will bring home the idea that we all started where you guys are today. So I apologize. I'm not familiar with everybody on the call, but I'm assuming some of us have some programming background or interested in programming, interested in blockchain, interested about the ethos and a lot of these wonderful ideals and dreams and vision of where this whole ecosystem is going to. And that is by far the most important thing, is the drive, the hunger, the interest in order to push the ecosystem forward. This is absolutely the secret sauce that makes a great protocol engineer. And where I came from, I did construction. Like I wore a hard hat for half of my career, and I found blockchain and realized what it was from a philosophical perspective, and I taught myself to program. So like I was not a programming anything, and I taught myself to code and spent a few years working for a number of other startups and other companies. And after I had gotten my feet wet for several years in the industry, I met the Lodestar team at DEF CON. And this takes a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work. And that's kind of the piece that I really want to emphasize with everybody today, is that you're already here. You are sitting with us and we are eager to have you. And that's the luck part, that we've been able to come to this, come to the same place at the same time in order to make something happen. And this is where the rubber hits the road. And really just to really bring home this idea that Phil mentioned this is a place where learning is critical, because what we do is so cutting edge, and really is not something that is written in stone. It's not something we've been doing forever. And it's really like what is true today may not even be true tomorrow. So being able to be flexible and eager to learn, and being interested in changing what that dynamic and that future vision of what Ethereum is, and all blockchain, and because really Ethereum is the driving force in the blockchain industry, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We are the ones that pave the future for what the world will look like tomorrow. I started as not really knowing blockchain. Like I knew a lot about blockchain. I worked for an NFT company, and I did stuff around blockchain and smart contract development and smart contract deployment. But I was not a protocol engineer. I had to learn that. So I was, when I started, in the same position that each of you are sitting in today. So again, we understand where you're coming from, and we're eager to help you. Like there were people who were there willing to take me under their wing and say, hey, let me show you this. Let me teach you that. Let me kind of get you some good advice in order to kind of steer my own ambition in being able to learn and grow and develop myself. And that really, again, is the part that is so important, is that this is an internal drive that you guys that we really relish. Now, this is the piece, though, that I want to really, I think, is most important, is what Phil had mentioned, is we are here to help guide you. Do not be shy to reach out to the protocol teams. We're very friendly. We're all very nice. I will say we're all, I'm kind of a nerd. I have to admit, sometimes I'm not the best at communication. I'm okay, but like the rest of us also kind of are, so don't feel bad. Like just give us a little poke and say, hey, how do I do this? Or what are we doing here? And I promise you, everybody's really nice. We're all going to want to help you for sure. That is absolutely it. We're a very inclusive and very eager group of people that want to bring new, fresh talent into the space. So thank you all for joining us and being able to go along on this journey with us. So Discord is your friend. Like we're going to look at some of the pieces of how to select an issue, how to get wet in the get your toes wet in the code base and dip a toe in and try to figure out how and why the code works the way it works. We'll look at some of that. We're going to look at some of the processes around how do you do a PR, and how do you integrate with the teams in PR review. And we're going to look at some of the pieces of how do you communicate with the teams while we're doing this process, because nobody's going to know, or at least for me, I didn't know when I first started what I needed to do first. So I basically had to reach out to the team and say, hey, how can I help? And then we talked about, this is a great idea. What are your skill sets? What are your favorite things to do? What are the pieces of the protocol that are most interesting to you? And that was an answer I didn't have at the time. So that was one of the things that Lion, who at the time was my mentor, was able to take me under his wing and say, hey, let's dip your toe into the BLST repo and see how that feels, and get that kind of just a snippet in order to figure out what I really liked. And that's really the first question, is what piece of the protocol do you like first? And then how can that tailor into some of the issues that are up on the good first issue board? And we'll look at that in a minute. And then from there, actually, great segue, let's look at the good first issue board. So something that Phil elaborated on was, I need to pick my screens. That's the one. Okay. And is everybody seeing GitHub?
Yep.
Okay, great. So as Phil elaborated, there is a huge amount of code that we look at. All right, all of these clients, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about the execution layer or the consensus layer, have a large code base. And what we do as a protocol engineer is fairly complicated. And this is why the eagerness in order to take off a bite and just gnaw through it until you can really kind of get to the heart of the issue, and then work on how do you actually solve the problem, and really understanding what is the problem sometimes is the first challenge that you guys are going to run across. And that's where these issues and talking on Discord is really going to help you narrow down on where in the code base I even look. So if you come to the Lodestar repo, you'll see that there's a ton of issues up here. And then if you filter on labels for good first issue, this will bring up another list that basically shows you all of the good first issues that we have. I believe the other client teams also have this good first issue tag. You may need to reach out to them at Discord and ask them what are their good first issues. It might have a different name. But again, that is the key that I want to emphasize, is that communication with the team. These are your team members. These are the people that you're going to interact with every day. If you want to be moving into protocol development on a long-term basis. So making relationships and being able to build that camaraderie in order to feel comfortable just saying hello, and we all want to help, is really a great first step. So feel free, reach out, ask us, how do I find the good first issue if it's not this good first issue? So with that in mind, here is one. I went through the list already before we got here, so I won't, I'll spare you on, you can look at them yourself. And if you find one that's interesting to you, feel free to go ahead and just reach out to us with an issue number, and we can take it from there. But in this case, this is the one, remove usage of number constructor. And there's a pretty good explanation of what exactly he's talking about, what it is that we need to do in order to fix the issue, and then what are some challenges that might pop up as you're going through the process of being able to fix this, that you need to be sure to pay attention to, so that you don't get stuck with these sticky wickets. So The number constructor is very unsafe because it takes in any parameter, and then you will be able to compile it, but you might get an NAM, not a number out. And then from there, we want to look for this number constructor. There are plenty of instances, and we want to see what is getting passed into the number constructor. So if we can switch it over to parseInt, because it's a string, we want to do that. And then if it's a big int, we can use one of these helper functions, and even says which helper function to use in order to switch that over. And then in particular, we want to make sure that if there's any untrusted data, we want to verify that it's not going to return NaN. So there is some pretty good information here. Now, one thing I will say is that it may not be your language. Like TypeScript may not be the language that you use. All right. And this is an important thing. Like, we are the TypeScript client, but this process will be the same whether you're talking about Go, or you're talking about Java, or you're talking about Rust. Going to the issue, figuring out what the issue is. There will be some specific details about what in that issue you need to pay attention to, what are some of the pitfalls related to that issue, and then what are the goals to consider the success for fixing the issue. And like, those are the pieces that really matter. Is what am I looking for? How do I go about attacking that problem? What are the metrics to success in order to be able to consider it done? And then what are going to be the acceptance criteria? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that acceptance criteria after. But for now, let's just look quickly at some of the conditions that were talked about in this PR. So again, it basically said, let's look for the number constructor. Now, this is where having a basic understanding of the language that you're going to attack really comes in. There are clients in most of the big languages out there today, whether it be Go, Rust, Java, JavaScript. There's plenty of options, and there are others as well that you can attempt to work on. But really, your best chance for success is to pick the client that you have a good fundamental understanding of the language in. This will make your life so much easier, because you're not going to have to learn the nuances of the language at the same time as learning the nuances of the protocol. So picking the one that really fits your skill set, I think, is a great first step to success. And then from there, you'll find the issue, and we're going to go through and try to solve this. Now, again, this is JavaScript. This is our TypeScript code base. So we'll focus on that today. And here it is, a number constructor. So I went through, I made sure I looked for both case sensitivity and specific length sensitivity, so that we're going to narrow in on just the number constructor and bring up a lot. You can see there's a lot of places where this code base is using this number constructor. And from there, let's look at some of the examples and try to figure out how we're going to solve this. So here we go. We're using the number constructor in order to pass it to this get fork name. This thing is going to take a fork name. It takes a slot. All right, slots are numbers. This is just one of those things you'll have to be able to go through and figure out function signatures as you go. I just know it off the top of my head, but let's look real quick. Click through to that one, and we're going to see get fork name. It's passing in a slot, and you can see there type slot equals number. So here we go. We're looking for numbers. This number constructor is being used to typecast into a number, and the data that we're passing in is a big int. So slot is represented as a big int, and we're using this number in order to typecast back. Now, I remember when we looked on this issue that it actually talks specifically about big int. So if the number arg is a big int, use a custom util that types like big int to number can be typecast with. And this is a great example of what I'm talking about, is that you should find good information in the issue of how to solve the issue. Now, this one is particularly easy. So it really does spell out exactly what you need to know. Now, if you get to your first issue and you find that is not as explicitly stated like this, this is another great place where you can reach out to the team and say, you know, I've got a general understanding. I've gone through and looked at some of the pieces of information that are in the first issue. I've reached out to the code base. I've pulled it down. I've got on the right branch, which is actually things that I've kind of glazed over, as I didn't say clone the repo, and I didn't say get to the master branch or the trunk branch, as it's normally called. And then that you know should be the basics. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds of the details, because being a protocol engineer does require having a basic understanding of how to use basic tooling, meaning Git. You should be relatively familiar with GitHub. You should be relatively familiar with VS Code or an IDE and some of the pieces that are required in order to get your IDE functional as far as extensions, etc. Now, if those are questions that you still have, we have some great, if you, in particular, you can reach out to me, and I've got some great resources in order to teach you the basics of programming to get you to the next level, where some of tackling the issue might be a more attainable goal. But we'll assume that that is already behind you now, and you're ready to actually start digging into the issues. Okay, so
I can use
here we go.
Could you please zoom in a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just. Okay, is that better?
Yeah, it looks great. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So this first instance that we see here is we are typecasting a big int into a number, because remember we looked at slot equals a number, so that was a typecast there. Now let's see some other instances. Same function name, so it's going to be the same thing. We're going to be also typecasting a big int into a number. All right, so that will be the same fix. Whatever fix we come up with is going to be the same fix for those two situations. Here's that same exact thing. So we're basically, again, typecasting a big int into a number. Here is so we have a gas limit, and gas limit input is either a string or a number. So you can see here that we're passing in the function signature as a string or a number. Probably this get parsed out of a JSON a JSON object that came across the wire. So this is another, actually, let's look back at the issue. This is another one of those conditions that we talked about, is if number arg is a string, use parseInt. So right there, boom, we know what we need to do. Okay, that's an easy fix. We can come back and we'll look at that in a few more minutes. Okay, now same thing here. We've got passing in that same function. We're looking for a number. We've got a big int. ID is a string, and we want it to be as a number. If type of ID equals number, okay. And here we're expecting a uint array. All right, so this one looks like we're going to be typecasting into a number, and we're doing it from a string. So again, that would be a great location where we can use parseInt. And number, we're using observe. Observe is passing a value equals number. You can see that here. So value equals number. And format way to ETH is going to be giving us a string. So again, another one of the same issue where we're going to look for a string to a number. So parseInt is a great solution there. And you'll just go on and on and on, going through each one of these locations in order to be able to figure out what I'm changing from, what I'm changing into, and then go ahead and make the change. So let's actually do a couple of these now. This one we're going to do parseInt, all right, because we know that was a string and we need a number. Let's do this one here. And that was a string or a number, and we've got a number. So we are going to, okay. So if that's not clear what I just did, we have either a string or a number. We basically check to see, is it a number? If it's a number, just go ahead and pass it back as a number. And if it's a string, we're going to parse it into an integer in order to be able to make sure that we get back to our back to that type we need is a firm number. All right. So now we do also want to double check. Was that going to be, should have been a parse float, should have been a parse int. I know for a fact this should be a string, or excuse me, it should be an integer. But if you had that question, that would be a great question that we can look at the specifications for. This is where the consensus spec comes in, is it will define for you, is that number going to be a digit-based number? So it's a floating point number, or is it going to be an integer that has no type of rounding issues? Okay, so like in this case, we're going to assume it's an integer for the time being. I know it is, and then if you have any questions and you look at the spec and you're not sure what the spec has to say or where to look in the spec, this is, again, a great opportunity in order to reach out on Discord and find one of us and say, hey, I'm tackling this problem. I've got an instance. I fixed 99 of the locations. I've got this one location where I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a float or a number. I looked in the specifications. I'm not really sure where in the specifications to find that information. And we'll be able to help you and walk you through that process. We're actually running short on time, so I'm going to go a little quicker here. I want to basically put these two things up. Let's do...
Just going to quickly add here while you're doing that, Matt. You'll see we have a contributing.md on our repository, which outlines a lot of information that you need to know as a first-time contributor or as a contributor in general. Generally, what people will do is they'll fork a repository, make the changes, and then open a PR into our repository to merge it. And then through that PR process, we review it, and then we give feedback and suggestions through there. But because Matthew is a maintainer on our repository, he will generally just make a branch of his own within our repository to put a PR in.
That's a really great point. Thank you for that, Phil. You can generally find those at the root of the repo. All of the repositories in the Ethereum ecosystem have this. You'll see a contributing.md, and you'll also see the readme.md. Once you get to the part where you're actually creating a branch like we did there, this is when reading that, like you might want to read it beforehand in order to figure out there might be branch naming specifics or some other details. You might have to sign a contributing license agreement that basically says you understand you're doing open source contribution. All of that will be outlined, and you can go through that in those docs. So now we're going to come back to here. If you forked the repo, obviously you won't be pushing directly to this repo. You'll push to your fork. You'll create a pull request from your fork. And then from here, there'll be some good information about why you want to make the change. It's great to reference the issue that you were fixing, a description of what you fixed, and then go ahead and click the pull request button. Now, this is where, oops. How do I stop sharing? There we go. Okay, so now we've gone through the nitty gritty. You make a pull request, you fix the issue, you've dug through the code base in order to figure out what you want to fix. Now, how do you get it across the finish line? Because that's really the goal, is how do you get your code merged through the PR process? And this is where a lot of the soft skills that Phil had talked about really come into play. This is a collaborative process. And I will say that we are very proud of the code that we write, and so are the other maintainers. And it's very rare that you're going to put up code that's perfect on the first time. and do not let that put you off. You will find that there will be a couple rounds of discussion where someone will make some review comments. You can address the review comments, and please, 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 a lot of these devs here, and I'm not just talking our team, we actually have a very nice team. So if you guys want to comment, we're actually very polite on our PRs. Not all PR review is like, it is like very, very, very kind. Do not let that put you off. All these devs are very busy. Like the core development team we have fork schedules that we're meeting. We've got lots of pressure in order to be able to move this code base forward. And emoji use is not real head. We don't really use a lot of emojis. But I promise you, they want to help. And they have your best interest at heart and the code's best interest at heart. So do not take it to heart if you're like, oh, that was kind of brusque. It might be. Again, they want to help. That's really the goal of what we're here to do. So feel free in order to respond back and say like, oh, well, what'd you do that for? It's like, well, I did that because I thought that this is what I was supposed to do. That's okay. That is totally part of the process. And you'll find that if you become a protocol engineer for the long term, like I love Nico. Nico is one of our team members. I love the guy. We stay in hotel rooms whenever we go to Protocolberg or we go to conferences. We tend to be like, because we just our corporate policy is, we share rooms to cut costs. And love the guy. He is the most nitpicky person on the planet. When I tell you, he wants the code perfect. And I love that about him. And I promise you that is the goal. That is the goal of the PR process. They're not easy, but do not let it push you off, because that is the whole purpose. Is this code is driving the forward edge of what the internet is going to be tomorrow. And this is what we're here to do, is make the best product possible. And in the process, help to mold and shape the protocol engineers that are carrying this protocol across the finish line in that process. The goal is to make everybody a better developer. The goal is to make the code better and more effective and more efficient. And this absolutely is the unspoken thing. Like, do not fear, do not fret. We are here to help. It may not sound like it sometimes, but I promise you, everybody's eager and excited to have you contributing. So with that, we're getting towards only 3 more minutes. I want to give Katya some time back in order to wrap things up. Please reach out to me on Discord. I am more than happy to help you. I promise you. I started where you are, and I will be excited to get you up to speed in order to make you as excited as I am. I love this job. It is humbling and invigorating. These protocol engineers that we work with are the best in the industry. They are the best, and in particular on our team, are the best JavaScript developers I've ever worked with. They are phenomenal, and they are eager to help you get to that same exact level.
Thank you, Matthew. Thanks. Thank you so much. It's just so inspiring. I feel like we have the best mentors we could ever have. And it's important to know that you communicate with our mentors in their Discord, in Lodestar Discord. We will provide you all the links. Every client has its own channel for developers, for contributors. So please ask your questions in this channel. Guys, do we need to create a thread for an issue or no, or just go as it goes?
We are
You know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
That is just ask the team, because again, you may not be working with only us. That is the key to all of this, and it will make your life so much easier. Is just talk to us. We're very nice people.
And
Yeah, we are gonna have client-wise channels, and in each client-wise we can have different issues. So it will be organized by today or tomorrow, but from next week, everything will be sorted. We will be dedicating different channels for different clients, so we'll be organized there.
And another important thing that we need to run tests, right? How it works. It's actually in the contributors guide, so you will go through it. But yeah, this is the part of the process. And
Thank you.
yeah, do you have any questions, ladies, to our wonderful mentors? I think they just nailed this session. Yeah, maybe you want to ask something, please feel free to turn on your mic or ask in the chat.
We can also answer them async as well through our Discord, which you'll
Sure.
get to. So no pressure to think of anything right now either.
Sure. Thank you very much. It was really, really helpful. Thank you, guys. We are staying here a little bit more for 5 minutes to discuss our homework, and we'll see you in the Discord.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you guys on Discord. Come on over.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Say hello.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you loved this session, girls. And what I would love to share with you is look quickly through our repo again. So I will take 5 minutes more from this session and share the screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah, so again, the main communication is in our repo. We have this sessions file where you can see all our sessions and recordings and your home assignments, this all in Cohort 3 folder. We also have a progress tracker. This is where your home assignment for this week lies. So as you can see, we already have some names here. These names are from the intro thread. You had your first assignment, and here are the names. And your assignment will be to add GitHub links to these names. Feel free to change your name as you want it to be here and add the link to this name. So how to do this? So here is the week 2 assignment. Just read it carefully and follow every step. And you will also need our GitHub guide. This is file number 3. If you already have this experience, it will be easy for you. Just quickly do it and that's it. But if you are new to it, please follow all these steps, at least try. If you're stuck somewhere, don't worry. We will get back to it on the next session. And just follow these steps, how to clone the repo, how to create your branch, etc. Until you should open a pull request until weekly updates. So steps 1 to 4, you need to follow them. And what you need to do is to add your GitHub name. So here is how it looks like in the VS Code. You can see the table, and the file looks like this. So the table is really tricky to work with. What you need to do, you find your name, you wrap it into the square brackets, and you add here the GitHub link. And that's it. You don't need to align the table because you can easily break it. Just don't do it. Only paste your link. Because when you paste your link, MD files are aligned automatically, so you don't need to align everything in the table. Okay, and then you open pull request, and that's it. This is your home assignment. Do you have any questions about the assignment? Please feel free to use this repo. Read the assignments, ask in the Discord. Any questions on this? No? All right, then we will stop here. Our next session will be only for you. So we will discuss, do you have any bugs or have you stuck with something from the home assignment? If you already feel confident about issues, if you have this experience, please feel free to choose your issue. This is all also in your home assignment. If you feel quite comfortable, you can start choosing issue and work on it, assign yourself, etc. if you know all the process. If not, please do it step by step. Don't worry, we will come to it. Okay? The question, what if your name isn't there? Yeah, good question. If your name isn't there, you need to go back to your first assignment, and in the Discord, I will quickly show you. Starting my Discord again. Because all these names I took from the first assignment. This is why it is important to work on it. Please don't create any additional table. I will put your name into the table as soon as you put it into the week 1 assignment thread. Let me share the screen again. So here is our Discord study group. And you can find here the thread. How can I move it on? The thread is here, week 1 assignment. So you just go right into it and add some words about yourself, introduce yourself. And from here, I will grab your name and put it into the table. It might take like a couple of days, 1-2 days. So you can check as soon as you see your name. Please start cloning, start working, etc. Okay. If you do it quickly, I will update it quickly. 1-2 days. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, that's it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next session next Thursday. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.